It's my pleasure to introduce from the UK Department for Science, Innovation and Technology, the Deputy Director of the Telecoms Diversification Programme, Catherine Page. Ladies and gents, please put your hands together for Catherine. And from the Ministry of Internal Affairs and Communications in Japan, we have Shinya Shimada, the Deputy Director General for International Digital Infrastructure Promotion. Please give Shimada-san a big round of applause. Thank you very much. So today we're going to discuss a wide variety of topics, I suppose. I think this topic is slightly different from some of the things we've been covering today at the Rakuten booth. This is a rather unique aspect of, again, how the two countries are collaborating technologically. I think for the benefit of our viewers here, it would be very useful if you could perhaps give some background on yourselves, your current roles within your respective governments. Shimada-san, would you like to take this one?
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Shinya Shimada. I'm Deputy Director General for International Digital Infrastructure Promotion. I'm in charge of the digital infra strategy within my ministry, and I'm also a special task force member within the Japanese government. So I'm now creating the new government digital infrastructure strategy, and we have a very strong relationship with the UK government, and also Rakuten Symphony and Rakuten Mobile. So Rakuten is a key player. They play a significant role to deployment, especially 5G Open RAN to the world. So we already have so many support and collaborative work. So during today's panel discussion, I want to seek further collaboration with a public-private partnership. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Shimada-san. And the same question to you, Catherine. Perhaps for the benefit of our audience, give a bit of background about yourself and explain your role within the UK government.
Thanks, James. And it's great to be here. My name's Catherine Page. I'm the Deputy Director covering future telecoms technologies in the UK's Department for Science, Innovation and Technology. And by future telecoms, we mean all evolutions of the networks that will carry data. So what comes next? And my team is focused on how we create the right policy environment, regulatory environment in the UK to support the development of those technologies, and how we work with international partners so that we develop those technologies and the ecosystem around them in the way that we want to see. So I work on diversification of the telecom supply chain, what we think about the development towards 6G, and how we support that through research and development and other levers in the UK.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for kicking us off to both of you. I suppose one question that a lot of people might be asking is, and the answer may seem obvious to the experts in the know, but what makes our countries, makes the UK and Japan so closely aligned culturally, economically, and perhaps even technologically as well? Where does those ties really begin? Shimada-san.
Yeah, so we already have a very long history about the collaboration in any aspect, in various aspects between the UK and Japan. My ministry has a long history for the nearly 30 years for the collaborative work with the UK government. And in addition to that, we already have a new partnership forum like UK-Japan and digital partnership. And as you may know, we are the member of the GCOT. GCOT is a five-member like-minded countries alliance, and Catherine is chair of the steering committee. So we have a very strong connection with regularly have a meeting and the communication. So this kind of the alliance is very strong. And I believe the UK and Japan has so many similarity because we are both the island country, and we protect the rule of law, and we also have so many tech companies. So I believe that this kind of similarity is based on our strong cooperation. And so this is a very additional information, but in my ministry, so many persons, so many colleagues that studied in UK, that I believe the second biggest number of the students from my ministry for studying abroad, than like digital policy and the competition policy. So I believe that this kind of background is based on our collaborative work.
Thank you very much, Shimada-san. And the same question to you, Catherine, I suppose, from your perspective, why are the countries so closely aligned?
I think Shimada-san's covered it very well. I mean, I think we have so many deep economic ties between us. I think Japan is the 5th largest investor, for example, in the UK. I think Shimada-san's mentioned the many people-to-people links that there are between us. But I think fundamentally we're also very like-minded. And so when we're thinking about technology and how we approach these technologies and how they will develop in future, quite often when I speak to Shimada-san or colleagues in the Japanese government, the things that we want to see from these technologies, better coverage and digital inclusion, greater security and resilience, we have very similar approaches, and I think that makes it a very fruitful partnership to take forward. So in recent years, and maybe to zone in on what we've been doing around Open RAN, I think we've seen a very like-minded approach from the UK and the Japanese governments. Shimada-san's touched on GCOT at a multilateral level. And then bilaterally, we have a UK-Japan digital partnership, which really tries to look across 4 different pillars of digital technologies. So, well, the work that we do sits within digital infrastructure, and so it covers diversification of supply chains and future telecoms, but we also cover in different teams semiconductors, AI, cyber resilience in that partnership. So we're trying to think about this holistically. We cover data, and we also cover how the governments themselves are using these digital technologies. And I think it's really important that we look at this in the round. But I think that we just have many similarities in the way that we think about these technologies. And in recent years, that's allowed us to make a lot of progress. So in January of this year, there was, I think, the 3rd ministerial dialogue that reviews this partnership that we have on digital and keeps us busy and keeps us making sure that we're moving things forward. And they were very happy that we'd made good progress on diversification in future telecoms. And we've done that through, for example, and I know we'll touch on that more, Rakuten technology now being installed in our UK Telecoms lab, which is a really great leap forward. Also through a global business initiative where from the UK we've taken over leading innovative companies to come and really see the Japanese infrastructure and ecosystem and see how we can collaborate more. And then we've committed to looking at where we can do more together in R&D in areas like AI for telecoms, non-terrestrial networks, and also optical networks. So there's more to do. We're excited about that, but I think we're making good progress and it's built on strong foundations.
Thank you, Catherine. I think you've taken most of my talking points there. You've led quite nicely into actually what was going to be my 3rd question. It was about the latest updates, if you like, on the UK-Japan digital partnership. So just for reference, that was an agreement that was announced in 2022 to see the countries collaborate in a wide variety of technological domains, but one of which is telecoms diversification, of course. And as you mentioned, in Japan, the Ministerial Council was hosted. Can you give us, and perhaps Shimada-san, or whoever would like to take that question actually, can you share some updates that were made or discussed in that January meeting? What progress has been made and what updates have we seen in terms of that relationship and the telecoms diversification aspect?
I think most of them I've probably covered, but I think the way that I would think about this is that it's a living partnership that is developing all the time. So we have these stock take moments with ministers, and you can find that online, so you can see the progress that I've outlined there in terms of the innovation partnerships that we've started to establish between companies, the progress in the UK Telecoms lab with Rakuten. But even today, we've been meeting with colleagues from MIC and NICT about how we take this further and how we develop those partnerships. And that's something that we really want to do together with our research base and together with our industry, because I think of the digital partnership as it's a framework, and that exists between the governments, but it's there to really leverage the wider strengths that we have across our economies, across our research ecosystem. So if you want to work with us and you aren't already, whether you're in the UK or Japan, please come and find us, because this is a really good platform for us to build on that relationship in digital technologies.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so let me add. So I believe in the we are target is shifting from the 2 years ago. So we are now currently under the implementation stage for the actual tangible outcome for our collaborative work. So actually, so you mentioned about the UK Telecom Lab. This is I remember 2 years ago, 3 years ago. So MIC, my ministry has some funding to the Rakuten Symphony for creating the launching this kind of lab in London. So after that, they DSIT will very good work and the collaborative work with Rakuten Symphony. So I believe that this kind of the collaborative work leads to this kind of the tangible outcome in London. And I believe that we need to expand this kind of the collaborative work in order to ensure the secure, healthy environment, digital environment in the world, not only in the London, UK, in the Europe, and globally. So I believe our strong relationship is very helpful for creating this kind of the new world.
Absolutely.
I completely agree, and I think it's a measure of a good partnership when you're moving from words into actions, and I think that's really where it feels like we are with that digital partnership at the moment. I think maybe the only other update that I would give that we hadn't touched on was I think we both, across both of our countries and governments, recognise the importance of the development of technical standards at the moment, and that's also something that's referenced in the partnership, that we know those are industry-led, but we want to work together and we want to work with our respective industries and research base to see how those standards can be developed in a way that will deliver what we want as governments and societies from these technologies.
Thank you very much. Let's talk about public-private partnerships, and I suppose, again, the relationship between Rakuten and MIC and, of course, DSIT is a very good example of that. But let's talk about the importance of those more broadly. Catherine, you've talked about how you're certainly willing to, or very eager to work with as many Japanese companies as possible. But just how important are those public-private partnerships? And are there any other examples that you think you can reference from?
I mean, they're essential. I don't think we can do anything without public-private partnerships in this area. And, you know, I'll talk about it a little bit from the UK's perspective, but I know this is international, and I'm sure Shimada-san will say more about what you're doing in Japan, but we have to work internationally. This is living proof in Mobile World Congress that everyone needs to come together to develop these technologies. So how do we do that in practice? I guess in the UK, R&D is a good place to start. So over the last few years in my department, we've been funding research and development, which has intentionally tried to bring together academia and industry from the very beginning as far as possible, because what we want is technologies that are going to be deployed in practice. And so I think it's really important that those partnerships start early, and we want to develop all the way from the early stage technology readiness levels through to commercialization. And so that's really been our focus on research and development. We've had a strong program focused on Open RAN, and now we're looking at different areas that are relevant to the next generation of technologies, as well as continuing to focus on open and interoperable solutions. But things like, how do we bring together non-terrestrial and terrestrial networks? What are the technologies that we're going to need for that? So R&D is one area. I think it's really important that there's a good partnership between industry and government when it comes to policy making and regulation, because industry is developing these technologies and they're moving so rapidly, and you see that all around you here. In order to make sure that we've got the right policy and regulatory environment to support them and deploy them properly, it's really important that we have that good understanding from industry about how they're developing, and that we can translate that into a way that means that we're using them ethically and responsibly and to drive economic growth. So however you do that, we have different forums and councils that we've used over the years to make sure that we keep pace with that technological development. So that's another area. I think skills is another really important area in terms of public-private partnerships. None of this will happen without people with the right skills. And governments have an important role in developing the education system that will give companies like Rakuten and others the people that they need to be able to stay at the forefront of the development of these technologies. And so we're focused quite a lot on making sure that we've got a good understanding from industry in the UK about what they need in terms of a skill set, and that we're looking at how we develop them further. And then I hope, sitting next to Shimada-san, in terms of those international government-to-government relationships and frameworks, we can provide a supportive environment for cooperation between our industries across international boundaries. So things like the digital partnership between the UK and Japan are an area where we want to send a policy signal that there is strong cooperation between our governments, and we hope that that will then be translated into what our industries do together.
Absolutely. Shimada-san, would you like to build on that?
Yeah, actually, I totally agree with Catherine-san said. We are not sharing the in advance what we will be saying, but I feel that we are on in the same page, and I totally agree with the importance of the R&D and the regulation of the technical standard or something like that. So, and the scaling is also important. I definitely agree that we need help from the private sector in this field, because we have no technology and we have no technological expertise, and we have no capacity to provide appropriate services in the market. So the participation from the private sector is essential for our collaborative work to create a secure world. So, and let me add one thing: is I believe that there is one more important government role is to provide financial support to the launching new business in new field. And I believe that this kind of the small financial support is to play a role acting as a catalyst for the private investment. So I believe that this kind of approach is shared by the UK and the DSIT and the MIC. So we have not so much budget about that. So but we are trying to spend very wise, very smarter spending for our budget, limited budget, to some innovative project could be launching by with our financial support, which play a role as a catalyst. So if there is some financial support from the government, some companies can flexibly make private investment in some areas, like in Ukraine. So I believe that is a very good example for the wide spending from the government as a financial support as playing as a catalyst. So I would like to seek more opportunity to spend this kind of financial support to the private sector, of course, including the Rakuten Symphony. So.
Thank you very much. I think one thing I'm keen to hear more about, and I'm sure our audience members are as well, is both of you have referenced GCOT. If you could give a bit of background explanation as to what the organization does, what it is, and also some of its findings perhaps in areas such as AI. I know it's done some research that have AI related to telecoms. Maybe if you can talk about, if you can offer any comment on those findings, that would be good, but a bit of background as well on GCOT and what that does.
Shall I take that one to start? I think, so the Global Coalition on Telecoms, or GCOT, is something that was established, I'd say around 18 months ago. I haven't got the precise date in front of me, but between the US, Australia, Canada, Japan, and the UK. And it was really born, I think, of a recognition that, as I said, between the UK and Japan, often we see these technologies in very similar ways and are very like-minded. This grouping, I think, has a very like-minded approach to the likes of telecoms diversification and future telecoms. And we felt that there was a gap in the market for a multilateral grouping that was really bringing that together and allowing us to work to advance our policy thinking and our development around those technologies. And so that's what we were trying to achieve in setting up GCOT. And really, we've established 2 work streams, one on diversification and one on future telecoms. The most recent things that we have produced have been papers that set out principles that all of those organizations that sit within the governments of those countries have signed up to. One on the certification of Open RAN and how that might take place. We see that as being something that should be industry-led. But our objective as GCOP partners is to try and remove some of the barriers to the adoption of Open RAN. And one of the areas that we had understood from industry, and particularly maybe some of the smaller players or emerging players, was that not having a standardized system for the certification and badging of Open RAN products was a challenge that they faced. And so what we wanted to do in that document was set out what we thought as our respective governments were important things to be considering as industry take that forward. And we're committed to working in partnership with industry to make that happen. For the Future Telecoms workstream, we've tried to narrow down our focus, and so we thought we'd start with the not insignificant topic of AI for telecoms. There is so much information about AI, and there are so many documents and so many policy initiatives around AI. What we didn't want to do was duplicate any of that, but what we did want to do was say, as our 5 countries, this is what we think specifically about the adoption of AI in telecoms, and we see huge opportunities, but we want to make sure that this is developed in a way that is responsible and ethical and considers competition and innovation, and also considers environmental sustainability from the start. So these were some of the principles that we wanted to put out to say, as many of the firms here are taking this forward and many researchers across all of our countries, here are some signals from our respective governments about the things that we would like you to be thinking about as you take that forward. And again, we stand ready to work with companies and with researchers as they do so.
Thank you very much, Catherine. Is there anything you'd like to build on there, Shimada-san, with regards to the references to GCOT? Anything you'd like to give your take on?
Yeah, so let me add the feature of the GCOT. So GCOT is an alliance for the telecom ministry, so telecom department. This is different from the other for international forum relating to the Open RAN. So we are ministry and the department in charge of the telecommunication policy. So we are stand closer position with the private sector, like telecommunication carriers. So we are more stronger relationship with the private sectors, other departments like Ministry of Foreign Affairs or something like that. So I believe that by utilizing this kind of the special feature with the GCOTs, I believe that, I strongly believe we can help more private sector's activity, like we already did with.
Thank you very much. I'll round off the session with the easiest of these questions. I'm just kidding. This is the $1 million question, I suppose, for telecom. But I suppose let's simplify this in terms of, let's talk about joint frameworks and ways that we can diversify the telecom supply chain and deliver better outcomes. But what is the next step for telecom globally in terms of that supply chain diversification? It's obviously a major challenge. And what kind of frameworks can we jointly deliver as nations to ensure better outcomes in that sense?
Shimada-san, I'm sure you want to take this question first.
Yeah. This is a very good question.
It's a hard question.
Difficult question. So I believe there. So actually, the vendor diversification is one means or tools for creating the healthier world and the secure world. So, if we successfully realize the situation, totally vendor diversified, and the customers is fully enjoy the benefit of the vendor diversification, I'm totally will be relieved about seeing that situation. So, but the new framework is more I believe so under this kind of the secure environment, we need to shift to create the new growth or new added value to solve the various issues like energy consumption and decarbonization. So because at this moment, the energy consumption of the telecommunication networks, including the data center, is a very huge problem. Of course, the benefit is also huge. But I believe that this kind of the framework can be used for us to solve the other various social problems. So.
Thank you very much. I think we're almost at time. Do you have any concluding thoughts? Anything to summarize the things we've discussed here today, Catherine? Anything you'd like to say to the audience?
Oh, that's a big question. What would I say? I mean, maybe to come back to your question slightly, I think we need to work together. And I think whether we do that, and we will do that bilaterally between the UK and Japan, or whether we bring in more partners through GCOT or more widely, we're not going to progress these technologies in the way that we want to unless we work together internationally. And I think, we also need to keep in mind what we want from them ultimately, because the technology is changing, and so our approach has to change sometimes to keep pace with that technology. But if we are all heading for the same goal, and if I look at what was in the GCOT statement, we want secure, resilient, innovative telecom supply chains. And that's what I think we need to work together to do. And we can see how the technology develops and we can adapt accordingly, but we need to work together and we need to keep working closely between governments and industry to achieve that.
Thank you very much. Shimada-san, any closing thoughts?
I totally agreed.
Okay. Ladies and gents, put your hands together, please, for Catherine Page and Shinya Shimada from the UK DSIT and MIC of Japan. It's been a great session. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us.
Very much.